Hi, Julia Dean here again with Culinary Works, and we are still working on our Culinary Works classics. So a lot of the recipes that we've done that have really made Culinary Works kind of stand out in the field for a cooking school and just really for people experiencing a really good time. So I just wanted to kind of demystify risotto. So many people think that risotto is like this really super complicated, crazy dish. I mean, granted, it's definitely not something I would do during the week because it takes a little bit longer and it takes a little bit more stirring. But nonetheless, I'm going to kind of make some for you tonight or today and just kind of demystify the whole process for you. Number one, the most important thing is the rice. So you definitely use a short grain rice. Typically and traditionally, it would be arborio rice, which is a rice from Italy. Okay, so we're going to kind of keep it pretty basic today and make just a basic risotto for you. We're going to be doing a pea and edamame risotto with, of course, a little bit of Parmesan cheese at the end. And then I think just, on the side, we'll do a little bit of sauteed mushrooms because it is kind of fall time, and I just thought that would be a nice little treat to kind of serve on the side. And I have the mushrooms. So, sometimes it's just a matter of kind of looking around and seeing what you have in your kitchen. Maybe if I would have had frozen artichokes, I could have put that in the risotto, or spinach. So, just kind of, you can make risotto really out of anything. But this one is going to be, vegetable as a side that we are using chicken stock for the risotto. So, let's get started here. First thing we're going to do is just a little pat of butter here. And we're going to turn up our heat a little bit. So a little bit of butter, a little touch of olive oil here. It's okay to use extra virgin olive oil, for your sauteing, as long as, the heat's not really getting too hot. Remember, you don't want to have really high heat with extra virgin olive oil. All right, so the butter and olive oil look like they're nicely melted there. So we're going to go ahead and add in some chopped shallots. So it's kind of one, kind of really large shallot here. It's going in. I'm not putting any garlic in there. I typically don't add garlic to my risotto. Just not something that I find I really like in risotto, for that matter. So I'm just going to saute the shallot for a minute just to let it get a little bit soft. And then what's going to happen here after this is we're going to add in our rice. And we're going to toast the rice a little bit. We're going to let it, kind of the outside just get, a little toasty, a little bit of color to it, just a slight amount. All right, so these shallots are cooking nice and quickly here. So give that about another 30 seconds and we'll go ahead and add our rice. And then after we add our rice, we are going to add some white wine. Now, not every single time is wine called for in risotto, but majority of the time. If you don't drink wine, that's fine. You don't have to put any wine in there. You can start then just immediately with the broth, with the chicken broth or vegetable broth or whichever broth you may be using. But in this case, we are going to go ahead and add the wine. So the shallots are looking good. I don't want them to burn. I just, wanted them to kind of sweat a little bit. See there? Great. Okay. So we're going to go ahead and add our rice. Looks good. This is a risotto spoon. I'll kind of talk to you about that a little bit more as we kind of get into the process here. So give this a minute here. Let that get nice and toasted. Just a quick minute. And then we're just going to add, enough wine to, make sure it's, I'll take a look here, I'll tell you. So it'll be about a generous half a cup, maybe a little bit more. So we'll see. But, really the nice thing of what I like about risotto, number one, it's gluten-free. So, in a situation where you're serving a lot of people and there could be a lot of different, dietary kind of things going on, especially these days, risotto solves that. And it's a really good team bonding experience. It's because it does take a little bit of effort, and it does, kind of involve people. You can kind of, commune over kind of stirring the rice and kind of get people involved and have everybody kind of get into the mix here. And it's, kind of a project. So in that sense, I find it to be a really good team bonding experience. And then also with that is you can really tailor the flavors of the risotto. Usually we make it vegetarian, but you can tailor the flavors of the risotto to the season. So, in the fall you could do butternut squash, and in the spring, asparagus and dill. in the summer you could do like, garden vegetables. So even pumpkin, I've made pumpkin risotto before too, and that's delicious. Okay, so you can see the rice here. It's getting a little bit toasty. Looks good. So we're gonna go ahead and add some white wine. We're just using like a Pinot Grigio, just nothing crazy here. Okay, enough that the rice is fully coated. Turn it down a little bit. There we go. There we go. Oh, you guys weren't paying attention again. Like, what were you doing? I forgot to add the time. It's okay. Fine, we're just gonna add the time now. It's no big deal. The time will not be upset with us that we didn't add it right away. It's totally fine.
Time wasn't right in time.
The time was not on time, but that is totally fine. This was fresh thyme, so it was like about a generous teaspoon of fresh thyme, maybe a little bit more. So we're gonna let this kind of sit just for a minute and let the white wine dissolve. And then what's gonna happen after that, we're gonna start to add our broth. Now that is kind of the process of making the risotto. It's just adding the broth. So I have some hot chicken broth over here, which we're gonna use. So nice and warm there. I have a little ladle here. I think my flame went out there, so I gotta adjust that real quick. There we go, we're back on there. Yeah, back in business. I didn't hear anything, right? I mean, think about that. Like when you're cooking and you don't hear like kind of activity, you don't hear sizzling, you don't hear things going on, there's something wrong. Look, listen, okay, right away you can hear something. So, cooking is not just about what you see, right? It's a lot also about what you hear. So, we use all our senses in cooking. That's kind of cool, I feel like, right? And then there's that, there's 5 senses, right? See, hear, eat. What are there 5, right? Then the 6th one is that umami, right? Which is kind of like that kind of like almost, sensual taste that you have. All right, so the wine has been dissolved here, so it's now time to start adding our broth. Now, this is the process that people talk about with risotto, like, oh, that's kind of crazy. You have to sit there and stir, stir, stir. So this is what we're going to do. We are going to stir, stir, stir. Sometimes I do put the lid on and let it just kind of sit a little bit, but it definitely takes 20 minutes or so, I would say, roughly. But honestly, sometimes it's kind of relaxing, right? I mean, just kind of let your mind wander a little bit, hopefully think good thoughts. So, all right, so we're going to kind of keep going, and I don't want to keep you guys here the whole time. You're going to kind of probably get bored of looking at me. I know I would get bored of looking at me, so okay. So we'll come back in a little while after we've made a little bit more progress in the risotto here. Okay, so where are we with the risotto? Can you guys take a look here and see? We've added a couple ladles, probably about 2 rounds of ladles. And you can see now we're about to add some more. So this is what you're looking for. So you're looking for the liquid to be absorbed, right? So not a lot of liquid left at this moment, right? So we are going to add another ladle. This is a small kind of ladle, so we're going to add like about 2 here. Okay, so there. Now let's stir this, and we just keep going. So you can see this particular spoon has a hole in it, right? So it doesn't really break up the rice grain because it just kind of, kind of goes right through it, right? So it's good. So we're just gonna keep on stirring, keep on stirring. At least I can make myself laugh. Okay, so we're definitely making good progress here. You can see how it's definitely kind of increased in volume, right? It's time to add a little more broth here. You can see. I just gave it a try, and it's kind of almost pretty close to being done. I'm going to try it one more time here. Let's see. a little hot, but. Now, the degree of doneness is behold to the user, right? So, or the taster, I should say. Like, you know, maybe you like yours a little softer. Maybe you like yours to have a little bit of a crunch. So, traditionally, you know, like a lot of things in like pasta and rice in Italian, they wanted to have a little bit of a bite to it. So, we're going to let it go a little bit further, a little bit more broth, kind of keep it going here. And we're going to saute up some mushrooms, just a little olive oil and butter. And we're going to get ready, actually certainly soon, to add our peas and edamame, because they were frozen, so I don't think they've completely defrosted, so they're going to need to kind of cook through in the risotto here. Okay, so we are getting really close here, so I'm definitely going to add some peas and edamame here. I don't know if we're going to add all of that, because... Okay, so that looks, let me just take a look and see how that looks. It looks good. In springtime, I do one similar to this with asparagus pieces. Let me just grab our broth that's heating up over here, because the broth is really supposed to be hot when you add your broth to your risotto. It should be hot, okay? So, but I just don't have two burners over here, so I've just been kind of keeping it simmering and, you know, kind of going back and forth here. Okay, so this is looking really good. I have behind me some butter kind of heating up here, and we're going to go ahead and add our mushrooms there. And we'll just let those go in a couple minutes. We're just going to add some salt, a little bit of pepper, saute those up really nicely, and just serve them on the side with the risotto. All right, so the risotto is really close. So, and actually it really, you know, was about like 20-25 minutes kind of from start to finish here. So we're going to add in some scallions. I think they're kind of a really nice garnish, and they're green. They have that nice kind of subtle flavor here. So we're just cutting them on the bias, because anytime you cut a scallion on the bias, it kind of gives it a little bit of like kind of a better, kind of, I feel like a better look. It just looks a little kind of fancier. Okay. That's one really big one there. Okay, so that's done. So what we're going to do with the risotto, the mushrooms are done. So, sorry. They look good. So, to finish the risotto, you definitely need to add some broth at the end. I like my risotto pretty brothy. I think that's very traditional, is to have it brothy. We're going to add our butter and a little bit of cheese right at the end. So we're going to whip in some butter. So a generous kind of tablespoon right there of butter right at the end. You don't have to add the butter. It kind of is a nice finisher right there. A little bit of Parmesan cheese, about a half a cup. Looking good. No, yeah, I guess maybe about a half a cup, a third, half to a cup. Okay, so take a look, see that. Looks good. Now it's going to settle, so I'm going to go ahead and get a plate and show you how we're going to serve this up. All right, let's finish up this plating process here with the risotto. So, looks really yummy. I'm going to garnish with a little bit of some scallions here, a nice extra green on top, a little extra Parmesan cheese. And we'll grab our mushrooms. They're a little like bonus, right? The mushrooms, a little extra something, something. Sometimes you just look around and see what you have for that little extra something, something, because it just adds that little bit. I think that looks really nice, and I kind of like the mushrooms with it. So I hope this really kind of demystified risotto for you and kind of made you realize, like, it's really not that difficult. I mean, just to be stirring for, it's on average like 20-25 minutes. And You know, you can make it vegetarian, which I think is really nice, and it's filling and it's comforting. And let me give it a try for you. So, a little piece of mushroom here and some risotto. It's good. What I want you to recognize here too is that it's kind of loose. It's not like, you know, what I don't like, and sometimes some restaurants you get risotto and it's like a big kind of mound that doesn't really move. You know, this has a lot of nice movement. It's a lot of, you know, kind of extra broth there. And that broth really, you know, kind of makes it. So you definitely need to add that extra broth at the end because you don't want it to be like clumpy. You want this nice kind of, risotto really should kind of spread on your plate, traditionally anyway. So anyway, I hope this has been inspirational for you. I'm going to take another bite here because I can, and enjoy.